Easter eggs are popping up everywhere, and it's not just Taylor Swift who's laying them. Hello and welcome to The Moment, a brand new week of The Moment. And for those who maybe are just checking out this podcast for the very first time, I'm Myf. Basically what I do here is quick cultural critiques, dissecting the moments that everyone's talking about in the world of popular culture, stuff I know a lot about, which is a good thing and a bad thing sometimes. And also I have great chats with folk who I think are having a particular moment themselves. Always entertaining, always fun, lots to discuss as always. The podcast comes out on Tuesdays, Wednesdays and Thursdays around 4 o'clock. So it's perfect for your work commute if you're heading home, or maybe in the morning if you want to listen nice and fresh. Lots of ways you can take this podcast. Look, you might not even listen during the week. You might catch up on the weekend. Who knows? Do it however you want. I don't mind. Take me however you want. I can't believe I said that. I'm so sorry. That was a joke. Dear. All right. Welcome aboard then to this latest edition of The Moment. This is the Tuesday edition for those who are listening 25 years into the future. Sad news to start the show. We lost a good one over the weekend. Seem to be losing a lot of good ones at the moment. Jane Goodall last week, and this week, Oscar winner, fashion icon, all-round seemingly amazing woman. No one really had a bad word to say about her. Diane Keaton died quite suddenly at the age of 79. Unaware as to whether or not she was ill, but I think it happened quite quickly. And she's been remembered over the last couple of days very, very fondly by lots and lots of people. People referring to her performance originally in The Godfather, which kick-started her career, to her Oscar-winning role in Annie Hall, which was, of course, the movie that was made by Woody Allen. They were in a romantic relationship at the time, and I guess she was his muse and did various movies with him. She won an Oscar for that film, was nominated 3 other times. She lived a great life, seemingly. She adopted children in her 50s, and she was a big fan of architecture, loved building buildings, loved restoring houses, and she seemed to have quite an impact on those around her. Lots of great quotes are flying around online. I pulled out a couple for you just so you can have an idea of what she was about. She was a lot more than perhaps just the characters she played on films. There was a lot more depth to her than, I guess, the assumption that she was merely a great lead in rom-com movies. She did so much more than that. Here's one quote. "I never understood the idea that you're supposed to mellow as you get older. Slowing down isn't something I relate to at all. The goal is to continue in good and bad, all of it. To continue to express myself particularly. To feel the world. To explore. To be with people. To take things far. To risk. To love." Isn't that a great quote? And this is another great quote from Diane Keaton. "I always loved independent women, outspoken women, eccentric women, funny women, flawed women. When someone says about a woman, 'I'm sorry, that's just wrong,' I tend to think she must be doing something right." Love that, Diane Keaton. You will be sorely missed. In other newsy moments since my last podcast, a few months ago it was rumoured that they were on again and off again. They went on a couple of organised dates and then it just kind of fell by the wayside. But on again, off again is on again. And I'm talking about 2 people that I would never have put together in a relationship until it's happened. And that is pop star Katy Perry and her new beau, ex-Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau. Hooey! Who knew? Going to space can change a lady, and she's just gone for it. And so is he. So this friendship between the two that was rumoured a couple of months back didn't just sort of fade away into the distance. They actually kept it going, and photographs have been taken of Katy and Justin on a yacht. It's very nice for them. I'm glad they've found love. Love is not dead, as I suggested when Nicole Kidman and Keith Urban broke up. Apparently love is real. You can find it again, even as you get older. And the photos were apparently taken the end of last month by a passenger who was aboard a small public whale watching boat. So off they were while there were people whale watching. And the person who took the photo said they didn't realise who Katy Perry was with. They only spotted Katy until they saw the tattoo of the guy's arm, and this photographer immediately realised that it was Justin Trudeau. Apparently Justin has a raven tattoo on his shoulder or something like that, and was traipsing around without his shirt on the yacht, and also wearing jeans on the yacht, which if I'd been that photographer, I too would have been off the scent, because we're just not used to seeing people who we see on the regular wearing suits, i.e. politicians, male politicians specifically, because male politicians don't necessarily even have any kind of casual look. They just wear suits, shirts and ties 24/7. So it's always alarming when you see them in casual wear, and apparently he was wearing jeans, so I would have been completely unsure as to who that was. But it is always weird when you see people who you are used to being in an official capacity wearing casual clothes. I know I certainly am. I think it was when Albo was wearing casual gear. He was on a recent trip overseas, might have been to China, and he was off doing some sightseeing in a casual chino and a rugby top, I think. And I just find it just confusing when we see people that we normally see in official capacities being normal human beings. What is that? Or is that just my disconnect? I'd love to know your thoughts. Let me know. Send me a message on the email, which is in the show notes. I haven't looked too closely at these photos because he's shirtless too, so that would freak me out even more. Saturday Night Live, the weekly comedy show in the US, has special guests on the regular, and Muso Role Model did a live performance on this past Saturday Night Live and got a special guest up, and this special guest has been very much in the news of late, and she's always got her finger on the pulse, so I'm quite complimented by this, to be honest, in a very vain way, that if Charlie XCX thinks it's good, then it must be good. She's making a film and it's called The Moment. No more words for that. I'm just excited. So what's this all about? Why is Charlie XCX getting up and performing with Role Model? And why has Role Model had other people getting up and performing with him during his live concerts? Other people, the likes of Natalie Portman recently, Kate Hudson, Hilary Duff, you might have seen that one online. She got up at one of his most recent gigs. Apparently Al Roker from Today has been called up for a performance, and members of the audience who Role Model deems to be appropriate or having a really nice time get called up to appear as well. Olivia Rodrigo has done it. A whole bunch of people have been called up, and they get called Sally's. Okay, so I'm going to explain this to you. The song is called Sally When the Wine Runs Out, and it's basically about a fleeting engagement with a woman that Role Model meets at a bar, and she can down her liquor, and they have an explosive eve, I guess. So Sally's a bit of a booze hound, and it's giving wine mum vibes, okay? An older lady, perhaps, by the choices of women that he's gotten up. Not that Charlie XCX is old, but yeah, it's got mum vibes, who loves a glass of white wine and has a great time, and so he calls up his Sallys. And Charlie XCX is the latest Sally. And what's interesting about this performance on Saturday Night Live, which I thought was kind of cute, and it may or may not be leaning into what happened last week, where it was alleged that Taylor Swift had done a diss track about Charlie XCX, and Charlie XCX appeared as a Sally on Role Model's song, and she's wearing a T-shirt, and this T-shirt says Max's Kansas City, which was the name of a legendary nightclub in New York City. Many others are suggesting that perhaps it's reference to Travis Kelce, who is, of course, Taylor Swift's partner, and he plays for the Kansas City Chiefs. So is it a reference to Taylor Swift? I don't know. I'm not sure. It's kind of fun, though. Easter eggs are popping up everywhere, and it's not just Taylor Swift who's laying them. Over the years, I've had my fair share hair disasters, colours that didn't suit me, dyes that were too strong and they ended up looking a bit weird. I'm joined by Claire, who is the founder of Miiroko, who's going to save us from that happening ever again. Thank goodness. Tell me about when you came up with the product, the history behind that.
Yeah, so I was working in a salon in Sydney, and then I worked for a hair colour company, there. And I kind of had this idea of offering those salon clients and the people who want the beautiful natural results, offering them something that they weren't getting currently at home. And I moved with my partner to Japan. It was only there that I was like, oh no, I really think I can make this product. We can do this. We spent 3 years living in Tokyo. I worked on it there. I, went back and forth with manufacturers and just really nailing down the right combination of colors and ingredients, and then launched the product here.
Thanks so much, Claire from Miiroko. And as a fan of the moment, you can pick up your hair colour with a 15% discount with the code MYF15, that's MYF15, at Miiroko.com. And now for a big moment, a huge moment for Missy Elliott, one of my favourite artists of the last 20 years. I was a big supporter of her when it all began in the 90s, and it's great to see that her talent is finally being acknowledged. I think because she hasn't been performing as much or releasing music as much, it's very easy to forget how incredibly groundbreaking Missy Elliott was when she first arrived on the music scene. It was just absolutely extraordinary. Her music sounded like it was from the future back then, and when you listen to it today, it still sounds like it's from the future, and her video clips were extraordinary. And this is what made Missy Elliott great, and this is why her song Get Your Freak On, which still sounds incredible, was given the number 1 spot on the Rolling Stone list that was released just a few days ago for the best songs of the 21st century so far, in brackets. So Rolling Stone's come up with this list, and I'm blown away, and I'm sure she is too, because she hasn't had a lot of credit for her groundbreaking music in the last decade or so, I don't think. And I think it's quite a momentous occasion for music as well, because to have a woman who makes hip hop and raps to hold that position, that is just a huge change, and one I could never have envisaged when I started playing Missy Elliott on the radio back in the late 90s. I just think it's absolutely wonderful. Also on the list, coming in at number 2, Yeah Yeah Yeah's Maps. Very emotional. I wouldn't have expected that song on the list either, but that is brilliant. That's a brilliant choice. Crazy in Love, Beyonce, of course. White Stripes with Seven Nation Army in at number 4. Taylor Swift at number 5 with a beautiful Taylor song, actually. All Too Well. Robin's Dancing with My Own is in there. Kendrick Lamar with All Right. Idiotek from Radiohead. Britney's Toxic in at number 9, and at number 10, Frank Ocean's Thinking About You. I'm actually really surprised, pleasantly so, by this list. It's very diverse in terms of musical styles. It's gone for interesting choices rather than simply top 10 hits, and it's actually got songs I like on there, so that's good. But I've always had a problem with lists. I think they're incredibly subjective, and I do think that there's been a huge amount of course correction when it comes to publications such as Rolling Stones, who are considered to be the pillars of knowledge of what's good in terms of music. But for years and years, I was very wary of lists, simply because you really need to think about who decides who is on this list. Who are these tastemakers? It's very, very important that collection of folk who have that role come from different places, and they're not what they were for many, many years. Mostly men who worked at Rolling Stone. And that meant that many of those lists, 50 greatest artists of all time, 50 greatest guitarists of all time, 50 greatest singers of all time, 50 greatest bands, those lists up until the last 10 or so years were predominantly men. There would be a nod to a couple of women on those lists or people of diverse backgrounds, but it was very white and it was very male for a very, very long time. And I'm really pleased to see that type of list is not necessarily happening anymore. And for those who say, oh, it should be determined on merit, well, yeah, it should absolutely be determined on merit. But you can't determine on merit unless everyone is included. And women were not even thought about and shoved over into another category, which was pop, which was also within music critique circles was deemed for a very long time to be not as important as perhaps other types of music. Rock and roll, which was predominantly, again, made by men in bands. It's been a really great change, I think, in the music industry of the last 10 or 15 years, where they have course corrected and these lists have become far more interesting and more indicative of all the music that has been made. And that makes me happy. And speaking of music, something that feels weird to say, mostly because I don't feel like I'm of grandmother age yet. But when your musical contemporaries become grandfathers, I guess it's happening. Liam Gallagher from Oasis has become a grandfather. I would not have picked that, but his daughter Molly, who's 27, has given birth to a baby boy. Congrats, Grandad. And to wind up today's moment, I have a little Farshun update, and I was very happy to get this one in my inbox today from my dear friend Zan Rowe, who I used to do Bang On with. She never forgets a Farshun update if she sees something and sends it through. And I'd love you to send that through to me as well. You can DM me on socials or whatever. That would be great. It's always good to keep a finger on the pulse, as we like to say, or should I say in this context, a finger in the hole in your jeans. What could I possibly mean? Well, Alexander McQueen have released their latest Farshun line, and it's their Spring-Summer 2026 line, and it is excellent. There is a standout moment. It involves denim, which is another of my faves. I mean, how many ways can we spin denim? I didn't think we could go any more, but Alexander McQueen have managed to do that, okay? It is a denim Farshun moment, and it is quite wild. I want you to picture this. Low-strung jeans. And this is another thing to be wary of. Hipster jeans are coming back, and it terrifies me. But everything goes around, comes around. This one should have gone in the bin, but whatever. Okay, so think of low-slung jeans with a bejeweled G-string coming up out of the top of it. Kimmy from Kath and Kim style. We know that look. It is a beautiful look. It's a tasteful, it's a stylish, it's a highly fashionable look. So you've got that. But something's happening below there that takes it to outer space, really. Okay. So these jeans look normal at the front, all right? But let's go back to the back where the butt cheeks are. Directly on the butt cheeks for about sort of 20 centimetres or so, we have a zipper. That's right. A long zipper on each cheek. And that zipper is undone. So you have air accessing the butt cheeks. And I think this is where things get really beautiful about Farshun because, you know, obviously the people behind Alexander McQueen have our health, especially for women, at the forefront of their minds. Because we're always told to wear a cotton undie. We're always told to let it breathe down there. We're always told to keep it natural, air it out, don't mess with it. And look, a G-string's probably not the healthiest thing for it, but but this is just going to be genius for anyone who feels like they need to maybe I don't even know how to say this and make it funny. I don't know. I don't know the purpose of these jeans. I don't know why they've been designed, but I do know that for those reasons, I love them. Because that's Farshun. There is no reason. Give me more. Alexander McQueen, the label. Give me more. Well, that's it for today's episode of The Moment. I'm off to buy myself some zipper on the arse jeans, if I can, or perhaps I'll just knock them up on the Janome here at home so I can be completely on trend very, very quickly, and you can too. Enjoy your bare ass to the wind, and I will see you at the usual time tomorrow from 4 o'clock. See you then. This is an MIK made production recorded on Wurundjeri land. Always was and always will be Aboriginal land.